Have you ever heard the story of a powerful enemy commander who was brought to his knees not by a sword, but by an unseen illness and the faith of a young captive girl? Today, we're diving deep into the incredible account of Naaman, a man who had everything: power, wealth, and respect, yet was secretly tormented by a condition that no amount of money or military might could cure. This is a story from the Old Testament, found in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 5, and it's packed with drama, political tension, and a powerful lesson about faith and humility. Let's set the stage. We're in the 9th century BC. The ancient world is a chessboard of warring kingdoms, and two key players are the kingdom of Aram, with its capital in Damascus, and the northern kingdom of Israel, with its capital in Samaria. These two nations were constantly at odds, raiding each other's territories and fighting for dominance. At the head of the Aramean army is our central character, Naaman. The Bible introduces him as a great man in the sight of his master, the king of Aram, and highly regarded. Why? Because through him, the Lord had given victory to Aram. This is a fascinating detail right from the start. The biblical author acknowledges that even the victories of Israel's enemies are ultimately under God's sovereign control. Naaman was a brilliant military strategist, a valiant soldier, a hero to his people. But behind the decorated armor and the public acclaim, he was hiding a devastating secret. He had leprosy. Now, in the ancient world, leprosy wasn't just a skin disease. It was a social death sentence. It was a progressive, disfiguring illness with no known cure. Those afflicted were often isolated from their communities, considered unclean, and forced to live on the fringes of society. For a man like Naaman, whose entire identity was built on strength and public standing, this disease would have been a source of constant shame and fear. Every day, he would have inspected his skin, dreading the inevitable progression that threatened to strip him of his career, his family, and his dignity. Imagine the irony. The commander who could lead thousands into battle was helpless against the slow, silent enemy attacking his own body. This is where the story takes an unexpected turn. In one of Aram's raids against Israel, a young girl had been taken captive. She now served as a servant to Naaman's wife. Think about her situation. She was torn from her home, her family, and her country, forced to serve the very people who had destroyed her life as she knew it. It would have been completely understandable for her to be bitter, resentful, or even to wish ill upon her captors. But she does something extraordinary. Seeing the suffering of her master, and perhaps overhearing the desperate conversations of the household, she speaks up. She says to her mistress, "If only my master would see the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." This is a moment of incredible faith and compassion. This girl, in the midst of her own tragedy, still believes in the power of her God and the authority of his prophet, Elisha. She doesn't hoard her knowledge or rejoice in Naaman's suffering. Instead, she offers a glimmer of hope, pointing to a source of healing that existed far beyond the power of kings or armies. Her faith, born in a foreign land, becomes the catalyst for this entire epic journey. Naaman, desperate for any chance of a cure, takes this young girl's words seriously. That tells you how low he must have been. A great commander listening to the advice of a foreign slave girl. It was unheard of, but his desperation outweighed his pride. He goes to his king and reports what the girl from Israel had said. The king of Aram, eager to keep his star commander healthy and in service, immediately agrees. "By all means, go," he says. "I will send a letter to the king of Israel." This is where the first major misunderstanding occurs. Naaman and his king operate within a worldly system of power and wealth. They assume healing, like a political treaty or a military alliance, can be arranged and purchased at the highest level. So, Naaman sets out not just with a letter, but with a caravan of immense wealth. The Bible tells us he took with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 750 pounds of silver and 150 pounds of gold. This was a king's ransom, a diplomatic gift of staggering proportions. Naaman was ready to buy his miracle. He arrives in Samaria and presents the letter to Joram, the king of Israel. The letter is blunt and demanding. It reads, "With this letter I am sending my servant Naaman to you so that you may cure him of his leprosy." The king of Israel's reaction is pure panic. He reads the letter and immediately tears his royal robes, a dramatic public display of distress and horror. He exclaims, "And my God, can I kill and bring back to life? Why does this fellow send someone to me to be cured of his leprosy? See how he is trying to pick a quarrel with me. From the king's perspective, this was a political trap. The relationship between Aram and Israel was already fragile. He saw this impossible request as a deliberate pretext for war. The king of Aram sends his commander with an impossible demand, and when the king of Israel inevitably fails, Aram will have the perfect excuse to launch a full-scale invasion. The king of Israel, despite being the ruler of God's chosen people, feels completely powerless. He sees only the political threat, not the potential for a divine solution. His is a crisis of faith, but news in a royal court travels fast. Word of the king's panic and the Aramean commander's arrival reaches the prophet Elisha. Elisha, the successor to the great prophet Elijah, was God's true representative in Israel. He sends a message to the king, a message that is both a rebuke and a reassurance. He asks, "Why have you torn your robes? Have the man come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel." Elisha's words cut through the political drama and refocus the entire situation. This isn't about kings and armies, or about diplomatic power plays. This is about demonstrating the power of the one true God. Elisha isn't interested in the gold and silver. His goal is to make a point, not just to Naaman, but to the faithless king of Israel and to the entire world, that true power, the power to heal and restore, comes from God alone. And so, the stage is set. Naaman, the mighty warrior, loaded with riches and expecting a royal cure, is diverted from the king's palace to the humble home of a prophet. He is about to have an encounter that will challenge everything he believes about power, protocol, and pride. He has come seeking a cure for his body, but he is about to be offered a healing that will touch his very soul. The journey from the throne of a human king to the doorstep of God's servant is nearly complete, and the ultimate test of his faith awaits him at the muddy banks of the Jordan River. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next part of Naaman's incredible journey. See you next time.